so today we're going to talk about Stallone for a few minutes here. Just kind of, talk about his career a little bit, general thoughts, what have you. Now, I should have done this before ranting on the Italian Stallion, his adult movie that he did back in the day. But the more we can move on from that, the better. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the guy. I mean, what more can you say about Stallone? Now, when you go back to the era of Rocky, a lot of the stuff that he did before Rocky, I have never seen before. The Lords of Flatbush, Death Race 2000, which I did watch those movies, and reviews are coming. He also did, around that time, an episode of Kojak, which I did watch, and I will, talk about that. And if I look at his filmography here, I'm not going, there's certain ones, okay. Rebel, I could not find for the life of me, aka No Place to Hide. I could not find that movie anywhere. And, he had bit parts in certain movies, like there was a Capone movie back in the day that he had a part in. He had a part in this movie called Farewell My Lovely, which looks interesting. You have Robert Mitchum in the lead role, and that was kind of a film noir type movie with the Philip Marlowe character. And apparently they're doing a new one with Liam Neeson, but different take, a modern take. Well, not a modern take, but going back to that character. And like I said, he was in an episode of Kojak that I'll be talking about, and then we get into the Rocky movies. I've never seen Fist. I've never seen Paradise Alley. I've never seen Nighthawks. I've never seen Victory. So those are going to be a first-time watch. Staying Alive, haven't seen, but I will watch that and review. And like I said, when we get to the Rocky movies, I will do, reviews of... I was thinking about, should I stay in order of his filmography or go ahead and knock out the Rocky movies? I'm leaning towards knocking out the Rocky movies, like, do a review of each one, and then do discussions on the Rocky franchise in every Rocky film. So, yeah, you get to First Blood, which is a classic. Rhinestone, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Cobra, Over the Top, Rambo 3, of course, all the Rambos. First Blood Part 2, Lock Up, great movie. Tango and Cash, classic. Rocky 5. I talked about the Rockies. Oscar. Stop Where My Mom Will Shoot, which I've never seen, so I'll be checking that out. Cliffhanger, classic. Demolition Man, classic. The Specialist. I'll be rewatching that. I have not seen that in a while. Judge Dredd, it's okay. I can watch it. Assassins, same. It's okay. I can watch it. I like Stallone and Banderas in the film. Daylight, underrated movie. Copland, another underrated movie. Burn Hollywood Burn. I don't know if I'll see that one or not. Okay, so it is on Amazon to rent, but we'll see what happens. I may talk about Burn Hollywood Burn. Ants. I will talk about that. Get Carter. Driven. ICU. Avenging Angelo. Shade, which I do have. I have Shade. Never seen, but I will talk about that. Unfortunately, Spy Kids 3. Yeah, we'll talk about in Rant on Spy Kids 3D. And I will talk about the 2 episodes that he did of the show Las Vegas. So I will do that. Of course, Rocky Balboa, Rambo, The Expendables, Zookeeper. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And Bullet to the Head, Escape Plan. And I will talk about and review the Escape Plan sequels. Grudge Match. Reach Me, I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Creed movies. Guardians 2, I don't know. He doesn't really have much of a part in that. Backtrace. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Rambo Last Blood. I will talk about and review the Suicide Squad. You know, Samaritan again, the Tulsa King. So, yeah, the Tulsa King is going to be at the very end there, but I just kind of gave you a little taste of what I'll be reviewing, you know, when it comes to the marathon here. So, but I think that, you know, if I look back on, to me, his best work, for me, was in the 80s. You got First Blood Part 2, you got Over the Top, Lockup, Tango and Cash. I mean, yeah, the first three Rambos. Again, I haven't seen Nighthawk, so I can't say anything about that. But, you know, the 90s too. I mean, what he did with the Demolition Man, Cliffhanger. You know, both movies came out the same year. Demolition Man and Cliffhanger. You know, Daylight's underrated. Copland's underrated. But for me, I think his best work was in the 80s. And then, you know, he had a comeback with the Rocky Balboa. And I remember seeing that in the theater twice. And it's so crazy to me that that is almost 17 years old. Time flies. I mean, again, I remember seeing that twice in the theater, and I can't believe that Rocky Balboa is going to be 17 years old. But, you know, and I remember too at the time, you know, like the critics were, oh, he's too old to play Rocky, and, you know, he doesn't have it anymore. And I mean, there was a lot of doubters when Rocky Balboa was coming out, and, you know, a lot of the critics were, you know, just going off on Sly, and, you know, that he can't do it, he's over the hill, he's too old, and he proved them wrong. Stallone proved everybody wrong. And then he did it again with Rambo 4, which I saw in the theater, and that was a great experience. And that was around the time, really, looking back, was when around the time that Rambo 4 came out, that was when I really started to get, like, into YouTube and making videos, you know, for people that, you know, that I've known for a long time up here. I may remember some of those videos I did back in '08. You know, like some of the tributes that I did for Don LaFontaine and Stan Winston. Because Stan Winston passed away that year. And, yeah, I started off making tributes to the film Falling Down. And I had the song Separate Ways by Journey in that video. And I remember doing a tribute to Above the Law. And I know I'm going off on a different tangent here, but then it really, when it comes to Rambo 4, that was kind of like the catalyst of me getting into YouTube and making videos and, you know, discovering Matt up here, Rambo After Life, and a lot of great people that I've come to know, you know, over the past 15 years. And so really it goes back to Rambo 4. And, you know, sometimes, you know, it's a great movie, and sometimes I forget just how pivotal that film is to me in regards to really expanding my, you know, horizons, because, you know, when I got into YouTube, and that's when I discovered more about Sly's career. Oh, he did that movie. Okay, he did Cobra. I have to check that one out. Over the Top. I have to check that one out. You know, Demolition Man. You know, Cliffhanger. All these movies throughout his career. You know, it's not like, I mean, before Rambo, I was aware of, you know, of course, Rocky Balboa and the character, but it's not like I really seeked out a lot of, you know, his films. But, you know, and it's not just Stallone. I mean, that goes for a lot of movies in general, you know, because of YouTube and how that I got introduced to YouTube goes back to Rambo 4. Because that's how I was able to discover more out there. You know, again, not just about Stallone, but Rambo 4 did play a big part in that. And, you know, how, you know, I was able to discover a whole bunch of movies. And so, yeah, I mean, Rambo 4 was a great movie and a great experience. Now, nowadays, I can't say much. I can't say much about Stallone now. I mean, Tulsa King, it looks interesting and well made, and some of the clips that I've seen, I like Sly in it, but I have to be honest, before Tulsa King, there was a lot of crap in there. I mean, he did the Escape Plan sequels, which I haven't seen, but I know I'm gonna see at some point here. Bullet to the Head, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Grudge Match. Yeah, I'll be checking that out again. I mean, what else? Rambo 5 I didn't really care for. Backtrace I haven't seen, but I have a feeling about that movie. Yeah, I'd rather get my, Backtrace. What kind of name title is that? I mean, the Expendables sequels. I mean, that alone, that may be a topic in itself. Like, after a review, Expendables 2, Expendables 3, I'm going to talk about those. That will definitely, I'm feeling that there could be a topic as well, with that, because, talk about a franchise that really dropped the ball hard, and it just, the first Expendables film I love. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I thought it is the best of the three. And after that, it was just a big, just go, like how quick that franchise went downhill. And it's a shame, because here's where you can get every action star from the past, people that, that are underrated. Like, you could have had Jeff Speakman in one of these movies. You could have had, Christopher Lambert in one of these movies. You could have had Thomas Jane in one of these movies. You could have had Carl Weathers. You could have brought him in for one of these movies. And they dropped the ball so hard. So yeah, when I talk about those, I will do a topic on top of reviewing those movies, because I'm not a fan of Expendables 2. There's some good stuff in there, like Van Damme and Chuck Norris, but that's it. Expendables 3 sucks. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame, because I think for a good decade there, Sly didn't. The Expendables was, to me, another great comeback, and after that, it just seemed like he couldn't really get back to that. Like everything after the first Expendables film, the first Expendables was crap. It just, for me, I just look back, from 2012 on, to me, Stallone hasn't made the best choices. Someone might, I know someone's going to say, well, his son passed away and that was sad, but I don't know, just, I mean, again, I've heard good things about, Tulsa King, so we'll see what happens. But it's just one of those things that for me personally, like, people ask about, his future, what should Sly do? Honestly, I mean, I know Tulsa King is getting another season. For how long can Sly do that? Even though it's a dramatic, mobster show, but you wonder how, can Stallone keep doing it? I mean, to me, here's a guy that should have done this like 20 years ago, in this mid-50s. Like if you had back then a Sopranos type of show, or that type of vibe, Stallone would have been perfect. Now that he's 76, yeah, I mean, season 2's coming, but for how long can Sly keep it up? How long can Sly, keep playing this character? Is he going to play this character for the rest of his, for the rest of his career? He's up there in age. I mean, it's something to think about when Stallone's pushing 80. I mean, that's crazy. Stallone, before you know it's going to be 80. Do you really see him doing the Tulsa King at 80 years old? So that's why I think that Stallone should really step back. If that means behind the camera, whatever it may be. But, Stallone has had a heck of a career. And in the past decade, he hasn't made the best projects. Tulsa King, I've heard, and from what I have seen, looks really good. But, again, for how long can Stallone keep doing that? Should he step behind the camera? Should he step aside? Then I think that, he should maybe consider retirement or retire. And that's not a bad thing. I love Sly to death. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of Sly. I'm a big fan of his films, a lot of his films. But the guy now, there's not a whole lot for him to do. And there's not much, for him to do, really. He's done everything. The guy has, had his comebacks, his ups and downs. We could talk about ego and all that stuff, and the power trips, what have you. And, back in the day, competing against Arnold, movie-wise. But, now, and this goes for Arnold too. Arnold too. Really, these guys at this stage in their life should be sitting back and, why not talk about their movies? Everyone now has a podcast of some sort, and I know that may be kind of because everyone has a podcast. Who doesn't have a podcast? But I always think that Sly, he should do something like that where, he could have someone be a moderator and ask him questions about his career. Because people love stories. People love to hear these stories about his career. What was it like to work on this movie? And every movie could be a different episode. And, you can go in order. But, I know that Stallone would never do that. He would probably want too much money. And that's time and what have you. But, people nowadays are really interested in that stuff. Long-form discussions, what have you. Why not? Why not, do some, do a podcast of sorts, where you talk about your career and, all this stuff and the ups and downs and behind-the-scenes stuff. But that's just, again, I know that would never happen. But overall, I think that now with Sly, I think it's best for him to take it easy and enjoy the rest of his time. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not, me being not a fan. I've already talked about a lot of the films. I've already talked about the films, I love. And I'm a big fan of Sly, but there's not much more of him to do. And the guy is, again, 76. He'll be 77 this year. Arnold is going to be 76. So they're a year apart. So, yeah. I know this video is kind of long-winded and, I talked about a lot here, may have rambled a couple of times, but I'm excited to get into his career here, and I look forward to, reviewing a lot of his films, even checking out the ones that I haven't seen. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more with the Stallone Marathon, and have a good day. Thank you to Director Screenwriter for being a patron and supporting the channel. And for anyone that would like to support the channel, I'll leave a couple of links down below in the description box to my PayPal and Patreon. PayPal for those that would like to request videos, and Patreon is for crediting if you want to be credited in videos. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.